Imagine a fund so successful that its performance seems almost mythical, a fund that didn't just beat the market, it obliterated it. We're talking about a staggering 0% return in just over a decade. This wasn't luck. This wasn't timing. This was the result of a radical mindset and a man who challenged everything Wall Street believed to be true. George Soros and the Quantum Fund built a legacy that still haunts investors today. But what made those years so extraordinary? Was it strategy, brilliance, or a willingness to take risks that others would never dare? Before we dive deeper, ask yourself, if you had the chance to bet big on a global shift, economies collapsing, currencies breaking, markets panicking, would you take it, or would fear hold you back? The Quantum Fund wasn't built on caution. It thrived on conviction. In the early 1970 seconds, while the world was dealing with changing economic realities, Soros saw opportunity amid chaos. The collapse of Bretton Woods, currencies floating freely for the first time, most investors were terrified of unpredictability. But Soros believed that unpredictability was the path to profit. When most funds hugged safe bonds and predictable equities, the Quantum Fund moved aggressively into global macro strategies. Soros understood something critical. The world economy was no longer slow-moving or isolated. What happened in Europe could shake America. What happened in Asia could echo in London. Markets were becoming interconnected machines of emotion, politics, and speculation, and Soros wanted to drive that machine. How many investors today truly see the world like a living organism, constantly reacting to human fear and ambition? Do you? The Quantum Fund's secret weapon wasn't just Soros, it was partnership. Jim Rogers, a brilliant analyst with unmatched discipline, joined Soros as co-architect of Quantum's miracles. Rogers dug into the numbers, patterns, global trade flows. Soros interpreted the psychology behind the markets, constantly asking, what do investors believe and what if they are wrong? It was a perfect balance, logic and intuition working in unison. Their philosophy was simple. When you believe you are right, you bet big. Most investors diversify because they fear being wrong. Soros concentrated because he believed in being right. And when he was right, the fund soared. But being right was not enough. They had to be right at the right time. Could you handle the pressure of making billion-dollar bets on timing alone? Throughout the 1970 seconds and early 1980 seconds, Quantum made daring plays. Commodities, currencies, emerging markets, areas most hedge funds didn't dare touch. Oil shocks, inflation waves, geopolitical shifts. Quantum didn't avoid volatility, it hunted it. Every crisis was an invitation. Because in crises, others panic, and that's when reflexivity takes over. When markets rise simply because people believe they should rise, Soros would ride the wave. When markets collapse under fear, he would strike with even greater force. So let me ask you, do you think markets reflect the truth, or do they reflect what people think is true? That single difference generated billions. One of their boldest early moves came during the global inflation surge. While governments struggled to maintain control, Soros predicted that inflation would reshape trade, commodities, and currencies. Quantum positioned itself ahead of the wave and rode it across the world. The result? Monumental gains. But success brings enemies. Other funds began watching Quantum like hunters, stalking their prey. Governments disliked how Soros profited from instability. The media labeled him dangerous, but he didn't care. The mission wasn't to be loved, it was to win, and they were only warming up. The fund grew at a speed almost no one could believe. Investors poured in money, desperate to join the rocket ship to wealth, but with greater power came greater consequences. A single move from Quantum could influence the market itself. How does a man sleep at night knowing his decision could alter a nation's future? Soros didn't flinch. His belief was that imperfect human understanding shapes the world economy, and exploiting imperfections was his job. Yet, with every success, the stakes increased. A wrong bet now wouldn't just hurt, it could destroy everything. Can you imagine the courage, or perhaps the madness, required to continue pushing forward? The quantum fund's early years weren't just profitable, they rewrote what was possible in finance. And soon, the fund would face a moment that would define its legacy forever. A moment when George Soros would make a decision so bold that it would shake an entire country and make him a global legend. But legends aren't born from safety. They are born from the moments when the world thinks you're insane until you win. Let's travel to the event that would solidify Soros as the man who broke the Bank of England. In the early 1992, Europe attempted to maintain fixed exchange rates through the ERM, the exchange rate mechanism. The British pound was overvalued, struggling under pressure, and its government was desperately trying to defend it. Most investors accepted the official narrative. The pound was stable. Soros, however, asks a different question. What if the government is wrong? He recognized that Britain's economic fundamentals did not support the pound's valuation. The belief in a strong currency was a bubble reflexivity at its finest. So what do you do if you believe a currency is priced at a fantasy level? You bet against it, not a little, not cautiously. You go all in. Soros borrowed billions worth of pounds and sold them on the market, planning to buy them back at a cheaper price once reality hit. But reality needed a push. Soros wasn't just observing the market, he was influencing it. He understood that if he struck with enough force, others would panic and follow. Do you see the brilliance? He didn't just predict the collapse, he helped trigger it. On the 16th of September 1992, now known as Black Wednesday, Britain was forced to withdraw the pound from the ERM. The currency collapsed. The government lost billions trying to defend it. Soros walked away with an estimated $1 billion profit in a single day. How does a man accept being blamed for damaging a nation's economy? Soros argued that he didn't create the weakness, he merely revealed it. Should investors be responsible for the truth they uncover, or is the market a battleground where only the strongest survive? The world now knew his name. Politicians called him a villain, investors called him a genius, but what mattered was that the quantum fund was now unstoppable. And the 0% return track record continued to rise like a rocket. Yet behind the celebrations, Soros constantly questioned himself. He often admitted that doubt fueled his success. Unlike other billionaires, he didn't act as if he had all the answers. Could that humility be his real advantage? Because if you believe you can't be wrong, you stop preparing for the moment you are. Soros did the opposite. He embraced uncertainty. He changed course instantly when he sensed a shift. His ego never controlled the strategy. Reality did. During market booms, he stayed skeptical. During panics, he looked for opportunity. Isn't that the opposite of how most investors behave? The quantum fund's legendary era wasn't just built on intelligence, it was built on psychological resilience. The ability to act boldly despite fear. The courage to admit mistakes quickly. The willingness to see what others refuse to see. So here's the real question. Could anyone replicate Soros' success today? Some say yes, learn reflexivity, study global macroeconomics, understand crowd emotions. Others say no. Soros lived in a rare era when the world was changing faster than anyone could comprehend. But maybe the truth lies in a deeper question. Do you want to be the kind of investor who watches history happen or the kind who shapes it? The quantum fund's 0% gain wasn't just a number. It was a statement, a declaration that the greatest profits are found in the places where others see only danger. So ask yourself this final question. The next time markets shake, Currencies wobble and fear dominates. Will you run away, or will you search for the opportunity that could change your life forever?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the legendary rise of the quantum fund. George Soros and his team didn't just chase profit, they challenged the very rules of global finance. So what do you think?
Was this genius at work, or a dangerous game played on a global stage? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video and want to uncover more powerful stories from the world of finance, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next chapter in our journey into the minds of the world's most extraordinary investors. Together, we'll keep questioning, learning, and seeing the market in ways others never will. See you in the next episode.